Good morning, chat. Thanks for joining us all this Thursday for Wisecrack Live, y'all. Henry here. I have Mike on hand, and we're going to be with you in just a moment. Thanks for joining us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Wisecrack Live on March 30th, 2023. You know, for anyone who watches Wisecrack Live who enjoys professional baseball, happy opening day. You know, that's a thing for some of us. Mellow Jello already asked Henry emote when. We'll have to figure it out, but soon emotes are coming. Guys, changes are on the way. I don't know who likes change, who doesn't like change, but this will be the last stream where you see me in this quality. I got a new camera, some new lighting coming. It should get here later today. Thank you to my wonderful boss. If you want to honor my boss for letting us buy new gear, make sure you follow Arcade Cloud on YouTube if you don't already. Andrew Saul, he gets it. John notes that I'm early. White Thug number 3 is here. What's up, White Thug number 3? Let's see. Julia went on a date last night. Told the guy about this podcast, said he might watch. Shout out to you if you're watching. Hey, shout out to you. What a lucky person. You know, Julia's a great friend of ours here. We love her very much. How lucky are you? That's great. Hopefully it was a fun date. Someone brought up, bisexual lighting. Yes. Gary's first time here. Yeah, we're definitely doing bisexual. I'm going to do trisexual lighting. Maybe quadsexual lighting if we can get a budget for it. But yeah, so that's going to be very exciting. Paul talked about my retinas. Paul, we're going advanced. We're not doing the ring light precisely because we value my retinas so much. So excited to be here. A lot of stuff to talk about today. We are going to look at the Senate hearings from yesterday between Bernie Sanders and Starbucks, Mr. Starbucks himself, Mr. Bucks. His name is Schultz. So, Scotty's here getting paid, listening to Wisecrack. Awesome. Yeah, do let us know if you're watching from work. Super Sleepy Boys is right. I don't think I know what that word means. But yeah, what was I just going to say? Oh, yeah. Shout out to everyone who's at work getting paid to listen to Wisecrack. Let's see. So we're going to talk about Bernie versus Starbucks today. Just an old man complaining about caramel macchiatos. We're going to look at a Legal Eagle video where he gets into the origin of Florida Man. For those who are in the know, today might be a holy day, if you know what I mean. And yeah, maybe some other stuff coming down the pipe as well. Mellow Jealous. So we're just getting right to it. We're getting right to asking what ADHD med that I'm on. Now, this stream is not sponsored by generic Concerta, but it could be. And shout out to everyone who has struggled to get ADHD meds in the current pharmaceutical climate. As always, you know that you need to like the stream. It's a thing you got to do. So, you don't got to do it. Ooh, Antoine Walters is here this week. If you could. Mr. Navida got a raise. Fuck yes. I asked you all last week if you could watch the video that came out Monday and be encouraging if you wanted more of that. And you did it. You really did it. The video performed well, to let you behind the candelabra or whatever. Ooh, Devil's Advocate gifting a membership. Hell yes. But you watched it and you left really nice comments and we appreciated it. So we're going to start making more videos like that. You heard it here first, folks. We're going to start making more videos that are more explicitly philosophical or more straightforward philosophical. Now, in one sense, some comments, people were like, wow, great to see you talking philosophy again. And I was a little bit like, what do you mean? We talk about it all the fucking time. We have a series called Philosopher Reacts. we talk about some sort of philosophy in at least every other episode. Someone said, "You got ADHD? What do you think? You see how much I pause? You've seen the digressions. Yes, I have it. And I don't have it in the way that people say things like, I'm so ADHD. I'm so ADHD. It's like, no, get a diagnosis, man. It's not just a thing you throw around. Stolen valor, okay? Stolen valor. Glad to see green usernames here. But some people were like, oh, it's good to see you finally talking about philosophy again. It's like, we talk about it all the time. Grow up. But then, some others, were pointing out that, basically pointing out the idea that like we've already kind of been doing this, but just in a cowardly way. And to let you guys even more behind the crack, which is the name of our Patreon podcast. Check it out if you want. Hassan Harris with a raise too. I love it. But, for years in my time at Wisecrack, I've pushed for this idea. Like, what if we just did a video that was on a philosopher, a concept, whatever? And everyone was real scared about that. Mellow Jello gifting 5 memberships. Hell yes. Outright Tiny's here with her dad and her uncle Henry. Got the job you interviewed for, Outright Tiny. That's sick. Thanks you everyone for sending good energy to Outright Tiny, because now you got a job. But yeah, for so long I wanted to do these explicitly philosophical videos, and there was so much hesitation, and I kind of feel like a dumbass because it's like, oh yeah, we did one and people liked it and it was good. Why aren't we just doing this? Why aren't we just doing this all the time? But thank you for watching that one. God, there was another type of comment for it I was going to complain about, but we'll do it in a second because we're going to look at some comments in a second. Let's do one more housekeeping thing and we'll really get the train on the tracks. Thank you for being here. It's Wisecrack Live. Next video's up. What can you expect? We have a video coming out tomorrow on Easter eggs and QAnon. That's right. Easter eggs and QAnon. Basically looking at the way in which Easter egg culture has gone beyond just the media and has gotten into politics, and how maybe that's not good. How maybe our politics shouldn't happen the same way that the MCU's marketing department happens. But, just an idea, just the thought there. On Monday, we have a video coming out about the trolley problem, which is basically about why everyone misunderstands the trolley problem. I don't want to spoil it too much, but we're basically saying that the trolley problem is dumb, but it's supposed to be dumb. That the earliest uses of the trolley problem in philosophical literature were meant to be kind of dumb. And we're missing the point when we act like it's not dumb. And then we have a video coming out on the new Puritanism. What is the new Puritanism? It's this weird thing where young people think sex is bad. That one account is here. Watching from work. Great bit of money. Thanks. Did I miss the discussion on The Last of Us? No. You know what happened? We tried to talk about The Last of Us and no one wanted it. I was there. Henry was there. We were ready to talk about it. Holy shit. Honeyman's here. Who says, my girlfriend was in the audience. She's a union Starbucks worker from here in Phoenix. That's amazing. So you will have better things to say than us. So that's really great. I will say this as well. I told you this before, and this is literally a stream only thing. There is an Easter egg for the stream in the video that's coming out on Easter eggs. So that is a real thing. There is an Easter egg in the video. Is that dumb? Is it a dumb thing we did? Yeah, it's dumb. It's pretty dumb. But you should definitely check that out. So that's coming down the pike. Let's look at some comments as we get into it. I'm going to pull those up. Thanks for being here again, Wisecrack Live. And for anyone who is a patron, since we've last been together too, we put out another office hours video. So if you don't know this, so if you liked Monday's video that was more of a philosophical deep dive, I would encourage you to consider checking out our Patreon. And here's why. I do a video series there where we just dive into philosophy stuff and I just hang out and talk that shit about various philosophical ideas for half an hour or so. So you can check that out. Moises said, Michael, who would you consider young people? I consider, if I say someone is young, I'm normally going to say like 22 or under, I think is what I really think of as a young person. You know, I think so. Yeah. How about Henry? What would you, if someone, what age would someone have to be for you to consider them young?
Like 24 and under.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a subjective thing because I know some.
Yeah, also it depends on like young in what context. Like young for their like professional or personal or
Yeah.
it's such a individual dependent thing. But I mean, like young, yeah, 24, I guess in general.
Yeah. Joshua Phillips said under 30. Yeah. I mean, definitely if I call someone young, your age starts with a 2. And if your age starts with a 1, you're a kid. So there you
Yeah.
go. Okay, let's look at the comments. What order are they in for you? What one comes up first?
So I first have the one that begins I really love.
Oh, okay, let me find that one. Let me find I really love. Okay. Cool. So this is someone who said, I really love these explicitly philosophical videos. In fact, I prefer them. If I could go back and second that for my undergrad, I would do philosophy just to learn. So I love how you discuss these ideas so I can compile my reading list. Hell yeah. But like we talked about last week, only do that degree in philosophy if you don't need to get a job with it. Does the next one say love to this? All over the place. Let me see if I can find that one on my end. This was incredible. So this is from the Nihilism video as well. This was incredible. I thought I was the only one who thought of toxic individuality, but it turns out de Beauvoir had thought of it decades ago. Thanks for inspiring me passion for studying philosophy. If you haven't watched that video, there's a quote from Simone de Beauvoir in the video where she, in like 1947, describes America, and it's crazy how accurate it seems. Like what she says about America in 1947 feels like what's going on now. So I would, if you haven't seen the video, check that out. It's at the end. Devil's Advocate's 30 and feels 40. Melagel is 29 but feels 18. I'll say Dennis Vandermeer turned 30, so that's pretty good. A weird thing about age, this is a digression. Guys, it just kind of all feels the same at a certain point.
Yep.
Like I'm pretty old now, but I don't actively feel very old. I feel like about the same. I get a little tired sometimes. My knees hurt a little bit more. I got to be careful about hangovers. But yeah, I remember once I was talking to my dad. He was probably in his 50s at the time or something. We're having a beer on the porch, and he said something to the effect of like, sometimes he looked in the mirror and he thought, "Who is this old guy?" Because he still felt like the same dude. And at the time, I just thought, like, what a bunch of old man shit to say, Dad. But totally correct. Totally correct. It do be like that. So there you go. And yes, Simone gets it. Okay. What's the next one that comes up for you? This is just hell for me. See, it just works so much better when. Okay, this one says, this is a great video. When I tried to put a label on some of my thoughts and beliefs, I wanted to call them nihilistic because they very much accepted there's no inherent meaning. But this felt more liberating to me than anything else because I could simply choose what gives my life meaning. You gave me some new words that better describe this. Thank you very much. Nelson gifted 10 memberships, guys. 10 memberships in the chat. That's friggin' crazy. Nelson is like Santa Claus. Nelson is the... Yes. Okay, I will do that. But yeah, so again, the nihilism video, the thing I liked about it is like, and the reason we did it, it's one of those words that we use, and it's like the scene from Princess Bride. Someone referenced this in chat earlier. I don't think that word means what you think it means. So, nihilism is not as negative as people think it is. So I'm glad we got to put some stank on that. I'm just going to start reading the next one. Loved this. More, please. Loved this, more please. And the comment says, I want to see if some philosophers discuss aging. We're talking about aging right now, guys, and how it's been handled. Us millennials are in an age group now where most of us are almost done or completely past our 20s. We've experienced a lot that past generations haven't. Perhaps this affects how we handle aging. Yeah, I mean, this is something to talk about. Maybe something we could talk about on stream. Maybe something we should make a video about. Millennial aging is different. It's weird. Damn, Nelson, you claimed lordship. It is yours. Guys, we all work for Nelson now. If you're here, you work for Nelson. Adam, the nihilism video did well. The nihilism video did well enough to where we're going to make some more videos like that. Talk about a real behind the crack moment. Here's my list for topics that I'm thinking we should cover. I'm just going to read this out to you. I made this the other day. Things I'm thinking about making videos on: existentialism, Hume/empiricism, consequentialism versus deontology, ethics in general, idealism, humanism and anti-humanism, Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, Simone de Beauvoir, neoliberalism, communism, capitalism, Paulo Freire, and the philosophy of education. Those are my notes I have thus far for videos I might make. Fuck, Jacob gifted 10 memberships. This lordship is changing. You know, are we an unstable democracy where leadership is changing constantly based on foreign influence? Gary just got over Noro. I'm glad you got over Noro. Wow. Is it like lords of the chat now? Are there lords of the ring? But yeah, age. We should talk about it. Thank you for the super chat, PS World. Someone said absurdism. I think that was our tiny. Let's see. Dude Abides wants a video on objectivism. Absurdism, Camus. We got so many green names. It feels like 420 in here. I did realize, friends, that we have a stream on 420 this year. I'm going to say this now because I don't know if I can acknowledge this that day or I'll get in trouble with YouTube. I might try to just be ripped on the 420 stream and we'll see what happens. So remember that now. Be here for it. Okay. Let's see. Vox says millennial aging is weird because old people like Gen Xers still think millennials are all under 21. Yeah, millennials are washed. We're getting old. So there you go. Next comment. Let's see. It has to be hard to create media that denounces media. Guys, one says that it has to be hard to create media that denounces media in some ways. But that's what makes you genuine. Also, on another note, looking the void into the eyes and saying, I've got energy inside of me. I will use it to help myself and others, as tough as nails and a constant endeavor. Videos like this one inspire me to keep it up. That rules. Guys, let's all get up every day, look the void in the eyes and say, I can do this shit. So there you go. And of course, I like that they pointed out, creating media that denounces media. It's like an irony of what we do sometimes. And especially in the nihilism video, we talk about kind of the digital economy and ecosystem. And, we both participate in that world while being critical of that. There was a really good question. I want to say this might have been a question that Honeyman, who was in the chat before, asked, that we talked about in the last Patreon video, the Philosophy Office Hours video. And in that video, maybe sometime on stream, I'll show you guys a preview of that, just a taste to get you hooked. But they asked a really interesting question that was like, is Wisecrack doing anything radical or critical, or is our ability to criticize the system a feature of the system itself? Basically, the question was like, is Wisecrack a feature of the Matrix in that way? Not to use it how noted sex trafficker Andrew Tate does. Yeah, HG Field says, YouTube doesn't like 420 culture much, ironically. Yeah, YouTube does not like substance culture of any sort. But yeah, and do thank the lords of the chat when you get a membership from them. But I found that to be a really interesting question, and it's a question I still don't have a full answer for. Caspi is here. What are we talking about? We're just talking about you. So there you go. Let's see. Next comment. Okay, so this one's long. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but it starts in a past life. Oh, okay. So, Honeyman, you didn't ask that question. Sorry for giving you credit that you didn't deserve. Okay. Top G here. Eddie wants something from Jacques Lacan. We'll do it. But this person said, in the past life, I was an academic advisor. I used to tell students major doesn't matter. It's a lens through which you acquire transferable skills, yada, yada, yada. Goes on and says, along with this, college students should also be getting that old school scholarly education. This doesn't happen anymore. No major is useless. It's a matter of knowing how to use the education obtained through that degree. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen much in either colleges, along with so many other issues in higher ed, like most things in the US, it's become a commodity and a business. Yes. University educations, commodities, businesses. Hey, like the stream. If done right, college can be amazing. I'm also a big proponent of college isn't for everyone, not always necessary. So many other ways to do the things I described above. A degree is just proof to an employer that you learn soft skills in a formal, structured manner. Yeah, I think that's a great point. We talked about this on stream last week, so I think it handled that question well. The idea that college, when it does what it's supposed to do, the university model, when it's practiced in the way it's meant to be practiced, can totally rip. But when it becomes a commodity and a business, it totally sucks ass. Which is true. And also, college isn't for everyone. We have to accept that. Zatla says, Wisecrack must be a part of the system, for it depends on and operates within the system. I struggle to find any example of outside the system other than Rick playing Roy burning his SS card. Yeah, I mean, that's a big question. Like, is there an outside to the system? G Hint said, I love more videos ripping on Jordan Peterson misrepresenting postmodernism. I mean, that's the thing, too, when people were like, I'm going to be spicy for a second. So plug your ears if you want me to be a little bit spicy. But some of the comments to the nihilism video, the ones that were like, finally, this channel talks about philosophy again. I miss the old days. It's like, motherfucker, since I've been the main host on the channel, I have a PhD in philosophy. It's like what I did for work. And some of our recent videos are just like 40 minutes of me reading Derrida quotes alongside Peterson, guys. Like, you know, I appreciate that people liked that video, but it's a little bit like, oh, that's really cool that Michael figured out what philosophy is. It's like, eat butt. But it's super appreciate all the support. Love you guys so much. I'm your dad and I love you. Please like the stream, even if you feel like I just degraded you a little bit there. So there you go. I do get spicy. I'm not going to lie. And say I don't get spicy yet. Let's see if there's any other comments. This one's really quick. Someone said, I'll work at Wisecrack. Will philosophize for potatoes. I appreciated that one. That was from the stream. And yeah, Mellow Jello, you're right. Those people don't watch them. Next one says, serious question. Do you think alpha male influencers are causing so much shit online because they got a not so hitting degradation fetish? Do you think they just get off on all the contention? Well, as a sexual kink theorist, no, here's what I think. Does it surprise me when the politicians, like the legislator from Tennessee, when politicians who are the most homophobic turn out to be the same politicians that are going and commenting on thirst traps from 20-year-old, gay influencers and being like, let me lick that butt, king? That doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me when that happens. In the same way, would it surprise me if some of the alpha male influencers have a degradation fetish? It would not surprise me at all. I'll just say that. Due to bias has to get ready for work. He watched Skip Intro's video on Abbott Elementary and issues with public schools. The video rips. Everyone should watch it. Honeyman says, do you make the distinction between bourgeois versus proletarian philosophical orientations, or do you think it's arbitrary? I'll say something. This might be spicy too, Honeyman 1917. I should think about this more later. I think that relying too much on that distinction is counterproductive to thinking in a contemporary context, and that a mistake people make in philosophy and political theory sometimes is they want to take a system of thought that's from a very specific time and apply it one for one in a totally different time. And I think the work involves taking concepts and ideas and repeating them in a contemporary context. And sometimes that repetition involves a shift. So that's what I think. Ryan says, must a fetish be sexual? No, I guess they must not. Let's see. Just, going Society of the Spectacle. Yeah, Society of the Spectacle, great book. There you go. Let's see. Cool. Just catching up on comments. They're good. Darth Vader says, Michael, how does it feel to be the biggest YouTube channel? Listen, guys, as the #1 channel on YouTube, as the channel that has eclipsed Mr. Beast, that has eclipsed everything else, it feels really good and well-deserved. And we've completely earned it. Let's see. Let's do one more comment. 2 more comments real quick. This one says, a few years ago, and they say, a few years ago, I left an ultra-conservative fundamentalist religion, based in Utah. I love the hint. Surprisingly, I found myself more depressed and anxious after leaving than I was while in. Turns out losing a worldview centered on the belief that a sky being knows you personally and is looking out for you 24/7 isn't as easy as it sounds. Anyways, nihilism saved me. I'm the author of my destiny. I decide my morals and ideals. Since finding nihilism, I've never been more free and happy. Thanks, Nietzsche. I mean, I think that's a really clutch point right there, that if one grows up religious or in any all-encompassing ideological belief system, you can't just leave that and be like, cool, everything's good now, because we all have explanatory mechanisms for understanding the world. We all have some impulse towards finding meaning or structure. And I think it's like naive sometimes to think we can just pull that away. And that's how sometimes as well, like Michael O'Neill Beast, yes. But that's why sometimes, I've been a religious person in my life of various stripes. I used to hang out in some evangelical circles when I was a teen that just wanted girls to like me. And some of the people I know who've gone the most off the fucking rails have been the people that were like the most hardcore evangelical, yada, 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 yada. Someone said secret Johnny Harris account. I almost said that, but then avoided it. One last comment. I left the name in because this is our buddy Aoife. Michael reading comments from the VOD on the next stream is vindication for Australians. Just had to shout that one out. We're here for our Australian friends. I want you to feel included in what we're doing. So there you go. Ryan says, Nietzsche was against nihilism. See, here's the thing. He wasn't, right? Nietzsche was against the type of nihilism. He was against like this unconscious nihilism that happens when we live in a society that means like nothing, but we think that it means everything, or we accept the nothingness. Rather, he wanted us to, like someone said in an earlier comment, kind of stare the void in the face and then affirm our own humanity in the face of that. So nihilism as a belief system he's against, but nihilism as a, starting point for existence, I think we could say he's into. But, there's ways to debate that. Piff 502, oh crap, I got a live stream. Yeah, you did. You caught it. Lick to stream, guys. Okay, thank you for liking the stream. Thank you for being here. Whoa, the numbers just dropped a lot. Did I say something offensive? I don't know. So let's get into this video. I'll pull it up and I'll hit pause.
It's good of you to show up. But
insider
then again,
video
face little choice.
Where we'll
it's
get
disappointing to me that it took such a long time.
Yeah. Oh, now it is. Okay. Did I have my sound turned off on this? Okay. So let's check this one out. Someone's about to start moving apartments. That's tough. Moving sucks. Moving's the worst thing in the world. I hate it so much. Okay. Let's check some of this out. So for those who don't know, Bernie Sanders for a while has been talking shit about Howard Schultz and basically calling him out for not speaking at a hearing about union busting. I don't know. We can set a little bit of context for those of you who aren't hip to, I guess, American politics or American labor practices. America is a country where it's increasingly, although that's turning around a little bit, hard to form and sustain a union. Honeyman 1917, if you've seen the chat, will know about this. But Starbucks workers have been voting to form unions around the country, meaning they wanted to organize their labor so they could collectively bargain as a collective and not individuals, because under neoliberal capitalism, they want us to all be individuals so that we won't have collective strength and power. But they wanted to get together so they can, get some better working rights. Howard Schultz, who is a billionaire that runs the Starbucks, he does not want the unions, so he's fought against them. And Senator Bernard Sanders thinks that Howard Schultz is a bitch. Now, did he use those words? No. Bernie Sanders thinks that Howard Schultz is a bitch. And he wanted him to come to his house so that he could call him a bitch in front of a bunch of people. So let's watch some of the clips. I don't know what things are in here. Also, shout out to Starbucks workers. I hope they all get unions. However, not a fan of Starbucks. There's a lot of people that like Starbucks a lot. And I'm not trying to pull some pretentious, like, it's not fancy enough for me. I'll drink some shitty coffee. I just don't like Starbucks. It's not true. I like their breakfast sandwiches.
Mr. Schultz, it's good of you to show up.
Is there audio on this video?
But then again, you face little choice.
Why am I not getting it? Oh, hold on 1 second, friends. I'm going to start it over because I was not getting it. There we go.
Mr. Schultz, it's good of you to show up. But then again, you face little choice. it's disappointing to me that it took such a long time and required the threat of a subpoena.
Ed Markey's pretty chill
for you to appear before this committee.
But Ed Markey is a Duncan.
It's frankly disrespectful to your hundreds of thousands of employees, but we do appreciate you finally appearing here.
There's literally no company in our competitive set of retail that offers higher value benefits than Starbucks in the United States. Today, baristas in our stores earn on average $17.50. Respectfully, that's more than the minimum wage of every senator that's represented a state on this committee.
Mr. Silch, have you ever asked the Starbucks worker, quote, if you hate Starbucks so much, why don't you go work somewhere else?
In a meeting in Long Beach, a Starbucks partner was trying to interrupt the meeting and start talking about the union. I just turned to her and I said, if you don't like the company, if you hate the company, you could work somewhere else. It was not a threat.
I recognize.
I love it. I kind of like it. I think that's kind of funny. Yeah, someone brought up average versus minimum. I do wish Bernie asked a question like Mr. Schultz, like, never mind. I was going to do a whole bit as Bernie, and I'm not going to do it because sometimes you got to have self-restraint in life. Scott made $7.50 at Starbucks. Gary says it should be around $20. Also, you know what I've noticed with Starbucks as well? They have the tip jar, but they don't offer tipping, at least in locations I've been to, if you use a card, which that always seems fucked up. Maybe someone knows the logic behind that. But also, too, like, here's the problem with the whole ideology around someone saying, well, if you don't love this company, you could work someplace else. It presupposes a level of freedom and agency that doesn't exist, right? Why do we work? We don't work because we have this free choice of all the great jobs and we can just go to any of the jobs we want. No, we have to work because we need a wage so that we can pay rent, bills, healthcare, all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty silly. Honeyman said something just changed and they can explain. I don't know what changed. And I don't know what you're referring to, but tell us in the comments. Would love to hear about it. But again, that's one of the sillier points. Oh, I think you said that the tip thing might have changed. I wonder if that's what it is. Okay, so they do offer it now. Okay, guys, you know what? This isn't MSNBC. I'm not Chris Hayes. You don't come here expecting me to give you well-researched news. I haven't been there a while. I'm glad that you can tip now. The next time I go to Starbucks for one of their breakfast sandwiches, which is a thing I like very much there, I will tip. Oh, they're letting non-union stores do credit card tipping, but they're withholding from union stores? Jesus Christ.
Petty.
Not good.
Extremely
not
petty.
Good. I'm definitely not Ari dropping mad rhymes. I do love that the one MSNBC host lets us know he's a hip-hop head. Didn't Bernie want a federal job guarantee so people could quit Starbucks? He probably did. Bernie wanted, most things he wanted are good. Oh, don't talk about politics, whatever. I'll say it. Tell me a thing that Bernie wanted that's like bad. Oh, healthcare is bad. Oh, paying teachers is bad. No, so that's all good. Grow up. So let's get back to this. But yeah, again, that's why Schultz's point was silly. Also, at one point, I don't know if this is going to be in here. There's a quote I saw where Schultz said something to the effect of like, I grew up in government housing and no one ever handed me anything, like to justify his hard work. But he started by being like, I grew up in housing subsidized by the government. That's not to shame him. That's a good thing. Giving people housing fucking rips, but what a guy. Hector's right. Please like it while you're here. Even if you don't like the stream, like the stream. If you like this stream and you ever see me in life and you say what's up, we can go grab a beer or a coffee. I'm not kidding. If you like this stream, maybe screenshot yourself doing it so you get proof. You ever see me?
Like.
You say, hey, Michael. And I say, yeah. And you say, let's do it. And I say, okay. Bernie does hate birthdays because birthdays are stupid.
At the outset, there's some irony to a non-coffee drinking Mormon conservative defending a Democrat candidate for president. That being said, I also think it's somewhat rich that that you're being grilled by people who have never had the opportunity to create a single job.
It's bothering.
Wow. This is the thing too we do in America. It's really funny. Like the the job creation thing. We're so obsessed with job creation. Melagello, I'll still have a beer with you if you have a Cardinals.
To me, because, Mr. Chairman, you yourself have been very successful. Rightfully so. Glad you have been. You've been in office for 28 years, and you and your wife have immersed a wealth of over $8 million. But I take offense to...
Okay, here's what I love. $8 million is a lot of money. I'm probably never going to have $8 million. Most of you are probably never going to have $8 million. Henry is definitely going to have $8 million. I do know that. That'll be nothing to Henry. Henry will burn $8 million one day. But this is a thing I love as well. So let's say Bernie Sanders and his wife are worth $8 million total. You know what? Fuck it. I think it's fine. He was broke for a lot of years. He's written some books, done some speaking, whatever. Guys, $8 million compared to what Howard Schultz makes is nothing. It's truly nothing. And I love when those sort of comparisons happen. Hey, what's up, everyone?
The chairman pointing out that all CEOs are corrupt because they're millionaires. If you can be a millionaire, why can't Mr. Schultz and other CEOs be millionaires and be...
I love the logic here. If you're allowed to be a millionaire, why can't he be a millionaire? So let's maybe break that one down. So Howard Schultz isn't a millionaire. He's a billionaire. If Bernie Sanders is a millionaire, I'm guessing that money came because it's not from his salary as a senator. It's probably just because he has written books and shit, and people bought those books. Say what you will about those books. I haven't read Bernie's books. I'm probably not going to, but I think there's a difference between writing some books and doing some speaking engagements over a 28-year political career and running a company that busts unions, doesn't pay people a lot, and doesn't let people tip. I don't know.
Be honest too.
Thank you.
Well, let me respond.
Wam Kim says Bernie Sanders is the poorest sitting senator. I wouldn't be shocked if he was. Yeah, I truly wouldn't be shocked if he was. You know, I mean,
that during the
all
Bernie
these,
campaign.
yeah. I mean, these people, I mean, everyone in our government, I mean, too, and this is true of Bernie and everyone else. People start making tons of money when they get into these government positions because our system is crazy.
The senator did mention my name, I think. And I think you got an all-time record here. You've made more misstatements in a shorter period of time than I have ever heard.
Please correct
Well,
me,
if I'm
because
worth
it's all
$8 million,
public.
excuse me.
It's all public.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right? Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
If I'm worth $8 million, that's good news to me. I'm not aware of it. That's a lie. All right? Number two.
Part of public records.
You're probably looking at some phony right-wing internet stuff. It ain't true.
He had to think about the word internet. I love Bernie, but he's also an old man. Looking at some right-wing and he was like, what word is that? Net. It's just so funny, guys. I love it. Oh, like the stream if you like Bernie.
No.
And then like the stream if you don't. Like the stream if you think he's a communist agent from Russia trying to destroy us. I got to share this story, guys. Someone asked earlier, oh, you have ADHD? Here's it in action. I did canvassing for Bernie Sanders in 2020. Sorry, I got political. And I was at this one apartment building in Los Angeles, a really nice one. And I, knock on the door. A woman, I almost said young woman, but we described young earlier. She's probably my age. Answers the door. Had a really nice apartment. And we start talking. I'm like, hey, I'm canvassing for Bernie, blah, 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 blah. And then she very earnestly says to me, yeah, I'm going to vote for him. She was like, I do have some friends in the intelligence community. And, I know for sure he is compromised by the Russians. But that said, I still think it's worth voting for him in the primary. And I was just like, oh, yeah, word. Yeah, you'll compromise by the Russians. For sure. But we can count on your vote in the primary? Fantastic. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy thing to say. So there you go. Oh, widespread known did some canvassing. Bad that our politicians are old. Yeah. They're all old. Are there any good young politicians in America? I don't know. Are there any good politicians? Who knows? Let's keep it spicy today. Let's get back to this.
All right, you should read beyond that. It is.
Okay, HGD said, would be cool if you have at least one segment which is relatable to international audiences too. U.S. content is cool too, but meh. HGD, I think we do a lot of things that I would say are international, but I totally get that, and I'm sorry. I guess, from my perspective, we start from what we know, and I don't want to be dumb and talk about foreign stuff. We talked about France for a while last week, but yeah, we'll talk about international stuff as well, and I don't need to feel alienated. I want us to feel like we're all part of one global community.
Number
Did you not
two,
make the statement
I
that if
have
you want to
the
be a
mic
millionaire?
now. I've got it.
Did you
had
not
your
make
time.
that statement?
You had your time.
Okay.
All right? You're not telling the truth. What this hearing is about is whether workers have the constitutional right to form a union.
Just 5 days after
He brought it back. I just like, how do people? Oh yeah, Maxwell Frost seems really cool, and he's from Orlando, and I'm kind of from Orlando, so there you
announcing our union drive, our regional director drove to our store from out of state and was working alongside my partners, attempting to make drinks. Partners suddenly started getting disciplined for minor dress code violations or being 5 or so minutes late. Every day, it felt as if there was a concerted effort to build a case against partners who showed even the smallest bit of support for the union.
Jello Shots gifted 10 memberships, guys. We keep doing it. Matt Bennett, I love the UK Prime Minister question time. I used to live in the UK and would watch that shit constantly. Hey Eduardo, that means a lot. Thank you so much. I'll say this though. I'll be a reactionary. When Miss Carter said people getting in trouble for even showing up 5 minutes late, I'll say this. This is me being an old guy. Show up on time for stuff in life. You know, I'm not saying that you should be like a good worker, but just nice to show up on time. Anthony Bourdain historically showed up everywhere 15 minutes early. It's just a nice practice to have.
Union. Vote 1 year ago today, March 29th, 2022. Since then, we've made every attempt to try to bargain in good faith with the company. Starbucks walked out on our store's only scheduled bargaining session after just 30 minutes. On May 3rd, the company announced that partners who were organizing or had already unionized would not receive a series of important benefit increases that non-union stores would be granted. My partners, along with thousands of partners across the country, still do not have access to these benefits, nor do we have a company that is willing to sit across the table with us and bargain for them. It's well past time for the company to bargain in good faith.
It's pretty crazy that like Starbucks is a company that goes through all the effort of not using the term employee or workers, but partners, which I think, you know, has this aesthetic sense of like you are more than just a worker, but at the same time, won't then sit across the table from them as partners and negotiate with them as people. And again, this is the, you know, some people who for very, I think, earnest reasons think there's like some pretty good stuff about the free market system. But the problem is, of course, that it sucks power away from people that are just doing their jobs. Someone like our bud Miss Carter here. So I think, you know, it's a thing that I think sometimes we just forget that when we are in, Anthony Bourdain didn't work retail. Someone said he did not, but he did work at like restaurants, which also sucks. But yeah. And again, guys, that was a reactionary, horrible point for me. Sometimes I gotta spice it up. But yeah, it's just such a bad vibe, but it's indicative of our entire system that in America in general, and here, I'll try to speak internationally in this way. I'm curious that people from around the world feel like it's any different, but like basically every job I've ever had in my life, in America at least, I've truly felt like at any point, there's just like a person who could just fire me like that. And it creates the conditions where it's like, would I even want to try to make things better? Because I'll probably just get fired while doing it. I don't know.
We were disciplined for minor things that happened in the store, like being written up for being 2 minutes late, which had never happened before. Terminations increased too. A partner who experienced sexual harassment from one of our managers was terminated after reporting it. Starbucks retaliation and union busting ramped up even more after we won our election. We were constantly being watched, and managers listened in on our conversations through our headsets.
We want to have these meetings.
Managers were listening into conversations through headsets. That's really horrifying. I've probably told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I worked for a company once that I now, because of the new agreement, my NDA, I think, isn't invalid anymore. But I worked for this company called Jump Cut. For my severance package, I had to sign a thing that said I couldn't disparage, but that the labor committee said I'm allowed to now. But at this company, Jump Cut, I was hiring some freelance writers at one point, and what they wanted me to do, because the company policy on contractors was you had to install software on their laptops that monitored what they did, and I think could even use the camera to see if they were like working. And here's the best part. They did this for all of the employees. So a huge chunk of the freelance staff of the company worked in the Philippines. So a lot of people doing tech support, IT, design, customer service, those sort of things were all very low paid in the Philippines. And they also had this tracking device shit on their stuff. And, I didn't have control over that department, but I threw a little shit fit when I was hiring a freelance writer. And they were like, oh, we got to put this software in our computer. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, no. I'm not. And I was just like, I'm not going to hire people if you make them do that. But that was just like a normal thing. Anthony R. Yes. Jump cut the site by the simple pickup guys. And this is a whole other story for another day, guys. But yes, I ended up working at a company, and I did not know that company was started by the guys from the YouTube channel Simple Pickup, who taught people how to do sexual harassment. None of us knew that when we got hired, and the wave I got hired at. And we had a dinner one day with a bunch of the employees where we had like a secret meeting that was like, so we work for guys who's had a YouTube channel about sexual harassment. What do we do? It was a very funny and weird time. And eventually we got laid off because it was a fake startup company that didn't do anything. But but we had catered meals. Okay, let's finish out this video. Nick says, which topics have we been going through thus far in the stream? We're on Bernie versus Starbucks now.
Meetings. We've scheduled 85. We've been to 85. We've tried to schedule 365, and we're ready to do that.
And my understanding is that on multiple occasions after you schedule them, the company cancels them at the last minute.
Oh, so these are the meetings they schedule and then cancel.
I would suggest to you that is not acceptable.
What I am not only asking you, I am urging you, is do not only the right thing, do what is legal. Sit down. Now, you've said you're prepared to sit down face to face. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Do it.
Bernie said, nut up or shut up, or put up or shut up, or whatever people say. Yeah, those guys were the proto Andrew Tates. And yeah, it sucked. I have stories for days. I have stories for days about those people, but that's for another day. So there you go. Bernie Sanders and Howard Schultz getting into it. Yeah, is anyone? Nate Lynch says the problem is a focus on profits. Yeah, but what are you going to do? Gary says rich and right don't mix. Isco says the music hitting was wired. When you say how to do sexual harassment, do you mean get away with it? Yeah, it was like a pickup artist channel where they taught you how to like emotionally manipulate women so that they would maybe have sex with you. And then some of the people I had to work with there were these like 23-year-old guys that they met because they did like the emotionally manipulate women classes. And they were just like the saddest dudes. And a couple of times I went out for like drinks with some of these people and I just saw how like sad they were. And I even like a couple times after I had a few would just be like, you guys know you could just like be a person. Just be a person. And you could just be nice to people and you could just be a person and people will see that you're a person. And I don't know. So there you go. Jan says, talk about what's happening in Paris. Yeah, we tried to talk about a little bit last week. In Paris, they're protesting aggressively. And I guess it's for similar stuff because they tried to push back the federal retirement age. Macron tried to do that and people got very upset. Very upset. And yes, someone said, regardless, people are still going to shop at Starbucks, right? But this is another thing, like when people talk about, sorry, catching up on chat. But yeah, but then in the same way, when we talked about like sometimes workers don't have freedom to just leave. Also, sometimes people don't have freedom to like totally choose where they always spend their money because it is what it is. There's some, especially in like small town America, like Starbucks is like the only game in town if you want like a fucking iced latte or something. Maeve said, have you been able to join for a bit? But what did you think about high Ren? I'm not getting that reference. Do you get what that means, Henry? High Ren?
No, I just read that as well and was kind of curious what was going on with that.
And I just want to note that Nick is out here in the chat talking about 9/11 being an inside job. So there you go. Hey guys, it's Wisecrack Live. It's Michael Burns. It's Henry. We are here. It's opening day of baseball season. I know that it's an American-centric thing to go international, and the World Baseball Cup a week or two ago, Japan won, so that was pretty fun. We have an email address, wisecracklive666@gmail.com. Our buddy Julia wrote us to let us know that there was a new Harris hole out. We appreciate that. Zach sent some tattoo designs, which is so cool. I don't know what I'm allowed to say about people's names, last names. I don't want to like shout them out too much, but I will say this. If you are in Denver, Zach is your tattoo artist. Maybe we should have put these on screen. I probably should have done this, Henry. We'll do it. Well, let's do it next time. Let's remember to show Zach's tattoos because they rip. So that was very cool. Let's see. I'm just looking at a few of the emails. A lot of good ones coming in. So just thank you for sending these in. Yeah, I'm just very, very much liking these. Eddie showed a video to his class, which we really, really appreciate. Yeah, I'm just liking the emails. Keep sending them if you want to. We're definitely reading them. Wisecrack Live 666. So there you go. How do you give memberships? I don't know, but we have a lot of lords of the chat today, and I really, really appreciate it. A few things before we get on to our next topic. So there you go. Thank you for watching Wisecrack Live. Love that you're here. Thanks for liking the stream. If you haven't liked the stream yet, please do, because let's not bullshit each other, guys. We got to feed the fucking algorithm. We got to feed the algorithm. The algorithm needs to eat. If it doesn't eat, we don't eat. It is what it is. So thank you so much for liking the stream, supporting things. There you go. Check out our Patreon, watch videos, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to talk about Florida a little bit and the bizarre origin of Florida Man. Our buddy Legal Eagle put a video out. I'm saying our buddy because once I filmed a video with him. Like we're not friends. I don't even know if he would recognize me if he saw me. But yeah, very nice guy though. Very, very nice guy. Devin from Legal Eagle, big fan. But he did a video about Florida stuff, and we like talking about weird Florida stuff. I get that that's also very
Florida Man.
American-centric. I get that, but it's just fun to talk about weird Florida stuff because it is. Checking in with the chat. Thank you for licking the stream, liking the stream, larking the stream, everything. He does dress good. Again, I've told the story on stream probably 9 times, but the day we filmed a video with Devin from Legal Eagle, we both showed up to film, and our producer that worked with us at the time made a comment that next to him, I looked like a 13-year-old boy. And guys, I'm a 38-year-old man. Let's just say it. I know I sometimes skirt around not saying my age. I'm a 38-year-old man, and I just had like a hat on and a band t-shirt and like a pair of old sneakers, probably some faded jeans. And Devin showed up not only with a suit, but with other options, perfectly coiffed hair, all this sort of stuff. So yeah, someone said bring down volume on video by 40%. Well, we haven't started this video yet, but let us know when it goes. So let's watch a little bit of this. What's up, Penny? Glad that you are here. Merc without a mouth. I'm so glad that's how you found Wisecrack. That needs a lot. Like the stream because Burns needs money for generic ADHD meds. A fun thing if you're on ADHD meds is you get to do the thing now where you have to like time when you ask for a refill because you know that the pharmacy might be like, oh, we don't have that one. We have opiate. Do you want fentanyl? We have tons of fentanyl. We'll give you fentanyl for days, but we don't have that. Hey, someone help Marty D gift. I think you hit the money sign, maybe. Oh, Alley Cat tells 84 twinsies. Let's go. Okay. Do you have a favorite Grateful Dead tribute band? Says Matt Bennett. Okay, so real quick, I like Joe Russo's Also Dead, J-Rad a lot in terms of someone who's doing kind of cool interpretations. Grateful Shred is always very fun. Although I prefer early Grateful Shred when they had the original lineup. A lot of those are up on the Re-Listen app. If anyone doesn't know this as well, go to Re-Listen. It's a platform that has live music from tons of bands you would like. I like those a lot. I'm trying to think of what other Grateful Dead coverish bands I like. And, I like all the ones that are adjacent to the band itself, like when O'Teal and Friends play music and Phil and that. And mine, Bored Betty. I'm in a Grateful Dead cover band. I think we're good. We had our first shows over the weekend, guys. It was very fun. If you're in Southern California, come see my band. And Jan wanted an opinion on Babylon. It's an incredible movie that everyone missed out on. And we're going to look back in 10 years and be like, why didn't that win an award? Let's watch this video and talk about Florida. Thanks for being here. Like the stream. We appreciate it.
Florida man. Florida man. Florida man.
Florida man.
Florida man.
Florida man.
Florida man.
Florida man.
Florida man. Mr. Florida.
Who can forget classic Florida man stories like Florida man undergoing kidney dialysis is upset that he can't bring life-size cutout of President Trump for emotional support during his.
I just want to stop. A Florida man undergoing kidney dialysis is upset that he can't bring a life-size cutout of President Trump for emotional support during his treatments. Wow. I'll say this again. Some of you know this. I spent most of my childhood in Florida. There is a Discord that we have if you're on Patreon or you're a member of YouTube. Florida is one of the weirdest places. Are there any Floridians in the chat today? We can talk about it. Florida is just so weird. Someone's in SoCal. We played a bunch of shows recently. You can find us on Instagram at Bored Betty. But yeah, but we're not here to promote my band. I mean, are we? I don't know. Maybe we are. But yeah, guys, Florida is so weird. Like, we've been wanting to write a philosophy of Florida video for a while to try to get it precisely what the weird and psychotic and nihilist and beautiful core of Florida is. Oh yeah, Malagel, I knew you were a Florida person. Henry, have you spent much time in Florida?
I've only spent about a week in Pensacola, and it was
tough.
Bizarre.
Yeah. And this is why, Ars Phoenix, Florida prof. I mean, this is why, Florida's weird because I think people, you think about a traditional like red state and you might think of, the southeastern United States. So I'm talking about everything except for the dong. And the southeastern United States in a lot of areas are very, in some cases, white and or extremely segregated. They are very Christian. They are very, Bible Belty, whatever. Florida, Claremont. I've been in Claremont before. Florida is weird because you have, South Florida is one of the most diverse areas of the country. Like in Miami and areas around there. It's like being in, and I mean this in a good way to be clear, not some like weird, like old racist man way. It's like being in South or Central America. It's incredible. Central Florida is vaguely, you got people from all over. It feels vaguely Midwestern at times. North Florida gets a little hicky. You have all types of weird artists and freaks that have moved there from all over. You got a lot of people that like drugs and drinking way too much. You have beach culture, swamp culture, just so many different things. And it just feels fundamentally different than the rest of the Southeast. Oh, Erica's and Coco, Kennedy Space Center in the backyard. That was one of my favorite field trips when I was in school. But there's so many cool things about Florida. Oh, Anthony's in the Florida of Cali and SoCal. So I'm guessing you're in Orange County. Yeah, and there's like porn, a lot of porn there. There's lots of strip clubs. It's a weird place. So anyone from Jupiter, Florida, all the professional golfers. So all that to say is, it's like, what is Florida? So let's learn some more about it.
Treatments. Threatens to kill man with kindness. Uses machete named
So good. I'm gonna try to not pause all the time, but that's so good. It's not good to kill someone though. But it's funny to do it. If you're gonna kill someone, do it with a machete named kindness, but don't kill anyone.
Florida man accused of stealing gator from golf course threw it around to teach it a
I'm going to stop pausing soon, guys.
lesson. For every U.S. state, people have formed some stereotypes about the people who live there. For Oregon, people may unfairly assume it's full of Portlandia hipsters. For Texas, people might unfairly assume folks are just one unkind word away from going full Yosemite Sam.
Now all of you skunks, clear out of here!
Isabella Ibarra said, Florida is super chaotic, but it feels like a place that encapsulates the weirdness of America. I think that's a really, really good way to put it. Our family's in Santa Monica. Hell yeah.
But whenever you hear the name Florida man, it conjures up a certain image of swamps, beer, and lawless shamelessness. And I'm not talking about Mar-a-Lago. But what if I told you that the overwhelming deluge of stories about Florida and their Florida antics isn't because Floridians are inherently weird and prone to getting caught doing ridiculous things? Really, the reason we hear so much about Florida has to do with
one day, once the stream gets to 1,000 at some point and I de-hat, I'll also list off the various things I got either arrested or almost arrested for as a teenager in Florida because when he talks about doing weird things, we would just get up to the weirdest shit growing up in Florida. Then when I went to college and met people from other places, they would be like, hey man, that's kind of a lot. That's weird. That's not normal. And I just thought the stuff we did was normal.
Something that should be envy of all other states, Florida's radical commitment to open meetings and accessible public records. So let's discuss the phenomenon of Florida man, Florida woman, and Florida people, and how we owe Florida's open government laws for entertaining us with stories like SWAT team rescues Florida man from tree, Florida man blames Putin in attempt to avoid speeding ticket, and so many more tales of woe from the Sunshine State.
I'm not a state. I'm a monster.
But before we get into the why of Florida Man, let's discuss the what of Florida Man. What is Florida Man? Well, for those of you who have spent the last decade living under a rock with no Wi-Fi, Florida Man is a long-running internet joke about, to put it politely,
Shout out to anyone who's seen the Atlanta episode about Florida Man, because that was really fun. Sorry, just looking at the chat because I gotta. Penny Waltrip loves Legal Eagle. This has been covered by Daily Show, John Oliver, all that stuff. You know what? We watch those shows, but every time we watch any, is it who's the company that owns those Viacom related things on here? We get a copyright mark, and then they take the stream down. So there you go.
The residents of the Sunshine State. Specifically, the term refers to the seemingly disproportionate number of Floridians whose news stories go viral for engagement.
Okay, so Ars Phoenix said something right here that I find utterly relatable and understandable. They said, in high school in Naples, Florida, us punk rock kids who worked at Einstein's Bagels would take bags of bagels home at night and chuck them at people from our car windows. Totally stupid. That makes perfect sense to me. Once we used to buy the cheap pizzas from Little Caesars at the end of the day and then throw them out of a car. And my friend Jason Thompson once threw a slice of pizza out of a car, this car behind him, and it was a cop car, and it landed on the window. He had to go to jail with my mother. And I was in another car, so we just drove away. But yes, a high school friend spent time in jail for throwing a slice of Little Caesars hot and ready pizza at a police car. So there you go. King Jar Jar was born in Florida, but got out. Oh, Thornback brought up the movie Zola. That's a good one. There's been some good Florida cinema recently. Zola, The Florida Project, Spring Breakers, Beach Bum. Beach Bum's my favorite Florida movie, though. If anyone hasn't seen Beach Bum, in terms of, if you liked Monday's video about nihilism and you haven't seen the movie Beach Bum, I highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Engaging in a variety of irrational, sordid, and outright bizarre behavior. Florida Man first became popularized as an internet meme in 2013 thanks to the efforts of the Florida Man Twitter account, who gained national attention when he began collecting news stories about Florida Man stories to illustrate real-life headlines about the world's worst superhero. Though the account stopped tweeting in 2019, you can also track the exploits of Florida Man stories on Reddit and Tumblr. Or you could just apply Florida Man to your Google alerts. The general pattern of these stories involve headlines that are literally just Florida Man followed by the absolutely bonkers thing that they are reported to have done. What kinds of things, you ask? Well, I'm so happy you asked, because these peculiar tales fall into several categories of Floridian woe. You've got your booze-related antics like, beer is my coffee, says...
Beer is my coffee. Wow. For his 9th DUI, 58-year-old Philip P. Jordan was arrested after he drove out of a KFC fast food restaurant. Wow. And I'll say this too, another thing about Florida is like the normalization of things like drunk driving there is really crazy, and it's bad and it sucks. But growing up and learning to drive there was a way in which even like the thought of drunk driving is normalized in a way I think luckily in much of the rest of the country it is not.
As Florida Man arrested with DUI. Florida Man arrested on DUI charge after driving scooter into Walmart shelves, police say. Drunk Florida Man tries to use taco as ID after his car catches fire.
Oh my God. Also, look at the first line of this article. This is crazy. Tacos are not recognized as legal forms of identification in the state of Florida. Insert bad joke about immigration laws here. Yikes. Is this like, oh man, I don't know. That seems bad. That seems real bad. Wow. Michael says, have you gone to Wisconsin? Yes. Wisconsin, I think, is the worst drunk driving state in the country. I think that there is no state where on a given day more people are drunk driving than in Wisconsin. And that is a fact. I will die on that fact. Thanks for being here. Thanks for liking the stream. People with green usernames, they're members of the channel. Some of them, G-Hints, you got to watch Beach Bum, HBO watch list. Let's go. People have green usernames because they're members of the channel. If you want to be a member of the channel, you can. It's kind of fun. We're getting some new emotes ready. I'm always going to see what you say in the chat if you got the green username, which is fun. You get on our Discord server, which is nice. All that sort of stuff. Shout out to Wisconsin. I truly love the state of Wisconsin. Like, one of the places I really want to live is Madison, Wisconsin. But yeah, that's what the green usernames are. If you gift memberships, you become Lord of the Chat. We've had a few Lords of the Chat so far today. It's a very cool thing to do. So check that out. Let's get back to learning about why Florida is this way. Also, for those who are in the know, Harris Hole, it's coming. There is a Harris Hole coming at you.
And then you've got your drug-related mishaps, like Florida man high on Flocka.
What is Flocka? Oh, I remember this now. I remember who everyone was talking about Flocka.
Officer said he was God, had sex with tree, police say.
Question. How do you have sex with a tree? What counts as sex with a tree? I don't know if I want to say it. If anyone in the chat has ideas, I just wonder what would count as sex with a tree. Thank you for liking the stream.
Florida man calls cops to come over and test if his meth is authentic. Florida man says syringes found in his rectum aren't his. Then you've got bizarre injuries, often involving the misuse of firearms, explosives, or wildlife, like Florida man accidentally shoots himself, notices 2 days.
2 days later. Michael Blevins of Deltona said he did not feel pain from the bullet, which pierced skin and muscle before exiting his body.
Later, Florida man who blew arms off making fireworks with coffee grinder won't be charged. Florida man fleeing from cops attacked by alligator. Then you've got Florida crime stories like police. Florida men try to steal honey, get attacked by 30,000 bees. Florida man arrested for trying to get alligator.
My God. And here's the thing. A lot of this is pretty fucked. A lot of this involves abusing animals and addiction and dark stuff, but what are you going to do?
Drunk. Florida man posing as Disney worker charged in removal of R2-D2 at hotel. Florida man snatches 4 million pounds of without paying. Then there are the Florida man stories that defy categorization. Florida man beats ATM, says it.
Nate Lynch said they got shot several times. It's not that bad. I hope that's not true. Whoa. Getting shot sounds really scary. It sounds very bad. I hope I do not get shot.
Too much cash. Florida man stole truck, attempted to break into military base to warn of fight between aliens and dragons. Florida man claimed powers.
That one was pretty intense. The aliens and dragons. I kind of want to know like what that guy knew that the rest of us don't know.
Of invincibility helped him steal cigarettes. Police. And lest you think it's just all about the Florida man, we've also got our share of Florida woman stories that are no less bizarre. Like Florida woman dances during sobriety test, tells deputy, "You sound like my ballet coach." Florida woman arrested for posting fresh meth tonight on dating profile.
Just Jesus Christ.
Cyber stalking. Florida woman bites camel's genitals to escape.
What? Florida woman bites camel's genitals to escape from animal after it
sat on her. The camel did nothing wrong. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Devin, are you actually going to talk about some kind of pertinent legal issues here, or is this just some flimsy excuse to list as many Florida man and Florida woman stories as possible in one video?
Both?
Yes. Now, I'm also going to talk about all the crazy stuff that happens in all of the other states as well. We'll get to the law in a second. But the thing is, weird news stories exist in every state, and they're not hard to find. Texas man texts weed offer to cop, gets arrested. Arizona man selling ranch for $5 million due to constant alien attacks.
You gotta do
Pennsylvania man facing assault charges over Big Mac. Connecticut man yells at bear until it leaves his kitchen. Missouri man helps start riot against self, will almost assuredly be re-elected senator after 3 more years in office. And yet there seems.
Wow, that was spicy. That was very spicy. I mean, this also brings up the issue too, and this is again being really American-centric, so I apologize to international audience who I love very much. About the diversity of states, how America. This is why America's weird. Every state has its own little weird culture, and I know that larger countries have regions with very distinct cultures, but this isn't a hot take, but America's just too damn big. No, that's what I think. It's just still too damn big. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Disproportionate amount of weird stories coming out of Florida. But there's actually a very good reason we hear about Florida so much in these viral news stories, and it's something that Florida actually has done very well that is worthy of praise that should be modeled by others.
Matt Bennett bringing up England,
states.
man.
I'm talking about Florida's robust public records laws enshrined by statute and constitutional amendments. As reported by the Miami New Times, ironically, one of the things that may be contributing to Florida being shamed so often in the national media is something all Floridians should be proud of. Since 1909, Florida has had a proud tradition that all government business is public business and therefore should be available to the public.
So this is the thing I realized. Growing up in Florida, I always just thought it was a national thing that you could always find out if someone had a DUI by Googling them, because if someone gets arrested in Florida, it's really easy to find. So you could always just figure out, like, if one of your teachers had gotten a DUI. Spoiler alert, multiple teachers I had in high school had gotten DUIs. And then I learned after the fact that in many other states, you cannot just Google to find out who got DUIs.
That means all records, including photos and videos produced by a public agency, are easily accessible with a few narrow and obvious exceptions. Public officials are also required to open all of their meetings, even unofficial ones, to the public. So here's a quick recap of Florida's century-long tradition of open records laws. Florida passed its first public records law in 1909 with the aptly named Public Records Law. As stated by the Florida Public Records Law, quote, "It is the policy of the state that all state, county, and municipal records are open for personal inspection and copying by any person. Providing access to public records is a duty of each agency. Under this law, all records made or received by any public agency in the course of official business are available for inspection unless subject to a specific exception or exclusion by the Florida legislature." And in the century that that law has been enacted, the definition of what constitutes a public record has expanded beyond the traditional written documents. And you know what public records are also subject to disclosure? Arrest reports, 911 calls, and mugshots with
Wow, a lot
private
of neck
info
on the
like
left.
address and phone numbers redacted. As a result, we got access to Florida man stories like drunk Florida man kicked out of library, told cops he was Jason Bourne. Florida man with Florida tattoo on his forehead arrested for misuse of 911, marijuana possession. Florida man suspected of smelling woman's feet at library leads police on scooter chase. And in 1960,
I know it sucks that I feel like it's, it feels weird to bring him up now, but Andrew Callahan's documentary that came out on HBO had some good Florida stuff in it. And Andrew Callahan's done some of his Channel 5 stuff, did some good Florida reporting as well. To be clear, I'm saying that bracketing the fact that that dude did some very shitty stuff to women, has seemingly taken responsibility for it, and we're probably never going to hear from him again. But still.
1967, Florida extended records laws even further with a passage.
RNDRX says, you think he reads those books behind him or are they fake? I think what's behind him is a green screen. So that's what I think is behind him. I do not think any of those books that you see are real. I think that's a green screen situation. So there you go. Kwame Kamguia said, would you move to the Midwest, specifically a small town, Michael? I probably would. I don't think my wife would want to, though. But I think I could live in a pretty small town in the Midwest as long as it wasn't too far from a major metropolitan area, because I really like music and art and obscure films. Things artsy. Speaking of obscure films, saw the movie Return to Seoul last week. Liked it very much. Let me know if anyone's seen any good movies recently. Speaking of movies, we're going to watch a trailer in a second as well.
Of the government Sunshine Law. These provisions, commonly called the Sunshine Law, establish a basic right of access to most meetings of boards, commissions, and other governing bodies of state and local.
Maybe we should assign one of you, green username friends and comrades, as our Florida reporter that every week has to scan Florida public records for good stories.
Agencies and authorities. Subject to limited exemptions, the Sunshine Law dictates
Shout out
that
to Wise.
no resolution, rule, or formal action taken by any governing body or board are legally
Oh, then King Jar Jar, you might be right.
binding unless their meetings comply with these requirements, which leads to the publication of Florida Man stories like Florida Man offered to pay officer with hamburger for oral sex, police say. Florida Man tells police he's allowed to carry meth, ask the FBI. Florida Man claims he was driving car with 2 missing tires because of a curse. And public officials who knowingly violate these sunshine laws are subject to a first-degree misdemeanor charge punishable by a fine of up to $1,000 and a jail term not to exceed 1 year. Now, an unintentional violation is a non-criminal fine of up to
Michael, see you later. Thanks for hanging out.
And a public official who intentionally violates the public records law is subject to a suspension or removal from office. And attorney's fees and court costs are available to plaintiffs that prevail in a civil suit for access. And since 1967, Floridians have repeatedly voted to enshrine open government principles into the state constitution. Voters adopted the Sunshine Amendment in 1976, which required the full and public disclosure of the financial interests of all public officers, candidates, and employees. And in 1990, a constitutional amendment applying open meetings laws to the state legislature was overwhelmingly passed by the voters. And in 1992, voters amended the state constitution one more time to guarantee the openness in state government and expand public records laws to the judiciary. And as a result, Florida couldn't hide stories like Florida man accused of using.
It is crazy how many he has. Every time he goes back for another run of Florida man stories, I'm like, surely the well has to be dry.
Using Kool-Aid
the well's
packets to
not dry.
steal nearly $1,000 in Walmart merchandise. Florida man arrested with pound of cocaine, some kept on stack of bacon. Florida man sprays woman with roach spray, break out nunchucks over loud music. Now, and that's not to say that the laws are solely responsible for all of the crazy stories that come out of Florida. As highlighted by the New York Times in a report on the subject,
So Kwame said, if you were in a 1950s family sitcom, what part would you play? Everyone should answer this in the chat. My answer would be the obnoxious neighborhood friend who charmed the mother, but then got the kid in trouble sometimes with his dumb ideas. I think, like, was Eddie Haskell the name of a character that did that? I think that's who I would be. Henry, do you have any thoughts on who you would play in a 1950s family sitcom?
I want to say the friend to the son of whoever the recurring family is.
There you go. Wow, what does that mean that we don't think we're worthy of being the main character?
Oh,
Ali Cattail says
teaching
the Kimmy Gibbler.
I would say I'm teaching those squares how to be cool.
Oh, hell yeah. Multiple Gibblers. Got some wacky neighbors. We got a sarcastic dad on the couch. Matt says, drunk bus driver all day. Speaking of growing up in Florida, I had a bus driver for all of middle school who was like this nice guy who would always nice guy. He would always tell the girls how pretty they looked. And then he got fired for exactly what you think. I'm not going to say it. This male bus driver with a little mustache who was always flirty with the girls got fired for the exact thing that you think he got fired for. So there you go. A thing we like to do in Florida growing up is on the last day of school, especially if it was like 8th grade and you weren't going to go to that school anymore. And if you were on the bus, you would wait till the bus stopped at a stop sign and you would open up the emergency door in the back and jump out and run away. It was a fun thing to do. If you're a child watching this, don't do that. Someone's trying to be Aunt Jenny from the Brady Bunch. We got a Steve Urkel type. Allison's a queer-coded cool aunt. Very specific, and I love it. We got another wacky aunt, and Uncle Joey. Moises wants to be the family dog. Wow.
Contributing factors and phenomenon are the sheer
Sean said the inept womanizer next door.
Size and diverse culture of the state. Florida is the 3rd largest U.S. state, and with more people means more crime stories. The Times noted that drugs and the weather are also culprits.
I'm just island boy. Island boy.
I still can't believe that these gentlemen are real, the Island Boys. Yeah, I think the moment these guys became a thing was the moment that I kind of gave up. I gave up a little bit.
Florida boy, I got real damn tropical.
The steaminess adds to the seaminess, and outdoor living makes for easy viewing and recording. But the most important factor in Florida Man's superhero origin story is the strength of Florida's public records law.
Thomas is the jaded owner of the bar we all go to.
As reported by a local station in Tallahassee, under the Sunshine Act, the public and the media are given access to crime reports almost immediately after they happen, like the daily booking report, which is posted almost as soon as a person is booked into jail. That information allows reporters to detail the narratives quickly. Barbara Peterson, the president of Florida's First Amendment Foundation, notes that the easy access coupled with the sheer novelty makes these stories takes off.
Wow, so is Devin telling us the Florida man thing isn't really that real? It's just that the laws are such that it gives more access to these things, and every state probably has insane people like this? Or that Florida's uniquely insane?
It's fun to say Florida man, both the fact that we do get access to that information early on, but also the branding. And while Florida reporters can get these arrest reports quickly, reporters in other states typically have to file a request for an arrest record, which police can routinely deny despite their jurisdiction's purported open records laws. Arrest reports like, Florida man with drugs around penis denies they were his. Florida man arrested after hitting dad with pizza because he was mad he helped birth him.
Okay, I'm going to say this is the most relatable one. Florida man arrested after hitting dad with pizza because he was mad he helped birth him. I find every part of this relatable. This young man was reflecting on the existential conditions of reality mixed with the, potential of environmental catastrophe. He was thinking about a collapsing economy, how hard it is to get jobs, how we might never own a home, and the very little work that his father's generation did towards rectifying this desperate political situation. And in the face of that, he hit him with a pizza because the pizza was there. And who among us wouldn't want to hit someone with the pizza out of pure political, existential, social, and environmental rage? This one's just normal.
Florida man arrested for handing out marijuana because it was Christmas. In a 2019 editorial, Pennsylvania journalist Gil Smart explained the roadblocks to getting an arrest report in the Keystone State versus the Sunshine State. As Smart explained, Pennsylvania open records laws allow police to withhold information if it's considered part of a criminal investigation. And police would frequently claim that we can't give you the arrest report because it's part of the investigation. And even if police did produce documents, there was no way to know what volume of information was being upheld. But when Smart came to Florida, he was shocked by the ease with which journalists can get information. Quote, law enforcement provides you with this info as a matter of course, without complaining or throwing roadblocks.
Wow. And so today's stream is really about just the honestness and earnestness of Florida police officers. This stream's dedicated to all the boys in blue in the Sunshine State and for all the good work you do and the way that you stay transparent and honest. If only that thin blue line went from Florida and wrapped around the whole nation, the world would be a better place.
In your way or claiming info in an investigation. Just how easy was it for Smart to get these documents in Florida? Well, a local police agency started sending Smart daily arrest reports by email, something he didn't even sign up for or request before receiving them. Now, of course, the salaciousness and silliness of these tales.
The moral quandary. Let's get into it.
Themselves
it's going to feel bad because now we're going to have to reflect on the morality of laughter.
To a special kind of, I'm so glad it's not me enjoyment. I mean, how else is one supposed to react to Florida man arrested for calling 911 after his kitten was denied entry into a strip club? It's easy to chuckle at some of these more frivolous sounding stories, but many of these headlines are deeply disturbing and violent. And critics of the Florida man phenomenon know that the punchline is often at the expense of Floridians with mental health issues and severe drug dependency.
John, that was an amazing comment. Just really well done.
Mental health issues and drug dependency issues like, oh, well, maybe that's not in such great taste. And it's easy to forget that every Florida man or Florida woman story involves real people, and it's important not to overlook the seriousness of their alleged crimes. Even the creator of the Florida Man Twitter account has regrets about his role in popularizing the meme. For 36-year-old Freddie Campion, who was raised in the United Kingdom, Florida represented a kind.
Wow, the UK connection. Who is in the chat? We have a UK person in the chat who's been talking about this. Matt, I think. There's our UK connection. Here's our international connection.
Pure, undiluted Americana. Quote, I never thought I was making fun of Florida because Florida is America. It's made up of people who moved here 5 years ago. Even when I think of Florida Man as a character.
This is great. Florida being made up of people who moved here 5 years ago. Even when I think of Florida Man as a character, he moved to Florida after he faked his death in another state. Very accurate. If anyone's wondering, like the vibe of Florida.
Moved to Florida after he faked his death in another state.
And Cass B makes this exactly what I'm saying. The focus is on the people and it should be on the state. Because here's the thing as well. Look at the state of Florida from a structural perspective, right? It's a state where real estate developers have gotten to run rampant. There's very few things like rent control, very little social welfare, very like poor access to, healthcare, public transportation, all that sort of stuff. Education. We know all about education in Florida because it's been in the news. I would talk about it more, but when we made a YouTube short about it, people called me a groomer in the comments. So I said we had to take the video down because I didn't want to deal with that. Just 100%. I think that Caspi pointing that out is very clutch to think about the structural conditions that lead to Florida men and women.
State. 6-year-old Freddie Campion.
Where is this? Doda Padope says they should make a Florida Man TV show. I guarantee you at least 7 different people have pitched a TV show, have pitched a show in this town that involves Florida Man stuff to some extent. I would bet you my life.
Who was raised in feared he had lost control of the meme, noticing that, quote, 90% of the stories people were sending me were mean-spirited. In 2017, Campion briefly stopped posting, telling the Washington Post that the comedy felt stale and that he began questioning the ethics of what he was doing. Quote, how much do I want to be a party to essentially making fun of people on their worst day of their lives, even if they have done something wrong? Like, who gave the internet the right to add to someone's punishment? And now the Twitter account is retired, and Campion hopes that other people like himself are learning to be more responsible about what they share online, but he doesn't seem to be.
I mean, that's true. And this is something we talk about on the stream a lot, which is the notion of empathy. And I do think sometimes there's that level of abstraction that one can get if you're laughing at, as I've been doing, to be clear, if you're laughing at a headline mediated via a Twitter or a meme account or something like that, there's a lot of levels of disconnect from the individual humanity and the structures that produced it. So that's fair. Now I'm feeling bad. Hopefully everyone else feels bad.
So optimistic that, quote, I
Is Italy the Florida of Europe? I don't know enough about
still love to see Florida Man
Italy.
have a happy
I want to say
ending.
no.
And of course, it's worth noting that a lot of Florida Man stories come directly from arrest reports and other documents containing uncontested facts produced by the police. And of course, the police might have an axe to grind or a certain perspective to promote. And then news organizations that report what the police say without checking any other sources are complicit in this. And they, of course, get in the habit of simply parroting
this video is landing really
what
well.
the police tell them, which in the context of an uncontested case of Florida Man might not be the biggest deal, but it could become an issue when things are more contested in different contexts. So remember, next time you share a crazy
I don't know, guys. Maybe police aren't honest. I'm going to have to do some personal reflection.
Florida Man story, your state citizens are just as dumb and broken. Your laws are just less transparent.
Boom. Roasted.
Of course, it was
I love office clips. Nate Lynch said, Michael, what do you think of the difference between sympathy and empathy? I'm probably going to be wrong because I'm bad at words. Thornback, you're right. Florida is more like Australia, 100%. Sympathy and empathy. I don't know, right? Isn't sympathy just like, oh, I feel bad that a thing happened to a person? Empathy is like, I'm acknowledging the humanity of the person and I feel an emotional connection to them because I'm a human too type thing. Although people use empathy. Oh, go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, empathy is like being able to imagine kind of like the narrative space, kind of like like the mental space someone's gotten to. Sympathies like that plus, well, feeling for them or like being on their side, so to say.
Yeah. Sometimes when I think about empathy, I had a professor in college named Elizabeth Leonard, who's since gone to be with the Lord. She was an awesome woman, got to retire in Ireland after teaching. So she was a real one. And, she was teaching us about, I think it was like women who had killed abusive partners or something like that in the sociology class. And people were talking in the class. She kind of set it up in a way where people were laughing at and or judging some of these women and other people who were in jail. And Professor Elizabeth Leonard kind of stopped and she was like, the only difference between you and one of those people is one really bad day and maybe one really bad night or something like that. Yeah. And maybe that's obvious to everyone out there, but to 19-year-old Michael, that really shook me and reminded me that often we build up these walls of difference between me and another person, but sometimes all it takes is like one bad fucking day for things to go wild. So so I think it's important to be able to do that. Hassan Harris says sympathy is associated with pity while empathy is associated with compassion. Matt Bennett says empathy suggests a personal experience. Really good. Yeah. Sorry, very good descriptions here. I just like these. Y'all are smart and great. Ebert said sympathy is feeling bad for someone, empathy feeling bad with someone. There you go. But also never people use empathy these days. It's crazy. I've been watching the new season of Love is Blind. Yes, I like trashy reality TV. And there's a person in the first episode describes themselves as an empath and then just continues to be a sociopath. Anytime someone's like, oh, I'm an empath, they're just like the biggest piece of shit. Sorry. It's true. It's true. Eddie says, I love when professors build you up to pull the rug out. Yes, I love that too. Let's quickly watch the Asteroid City trailer. And then we're going to do a Harris hole. Listen, Wisecrack Live is Wes Anderson friendly. Wes Anderson gets a lot of shit sometimes, and I don't understand it. James Austin Johnston, SNL cast member, had a really good tweet yesterday. I should have pulled it up that said something to the effect of like, oh no, another stupid Wes Anderson movie where a director with a completely unique visual style tells stories unique to him where actors do something way different from their normal thing. Oh no. And it's like, yes, Galen Rose says her and Irina are the worst. They are evil. Micah and Irina are terrorists. Irina is very evil, and I feel so bad for Zach. How did he end up with her? It's terrible. Okay, shouts to Love is Blind. Guys, let's all watch Love is Blind so we can talk about it. Asteroid City, let's go. Already, like right off the bat, I love how it looks.
You're not here.
We're not there. The car exploded.
Also, theory, this is just my hot take. It seems like this Tom Hanks character was definitely meant to be played by Bill Murray, but because Bill Murray's had some unfavorable things, Bill Murray was, there's been a lot of stuff over the years. He was working on this movie that Aziz Ansari wrote and directed, and in the movie, he I think literally forced himself on a woman who was working on the film and held her down, and I don't know. It's not good. It is not good, and the studio literally shut the film down after this. I say this is someone who's liked Bill Murray my whole life, but he's acted in some very shitty ways. Mellow Jello, you're not uncultured because you've never watched a Wes Anderson. We're different people, okay? Well, RNDRX said Wes Anderson is edging for a good movie. Oh my God, that rips. Ryan Klein's already I don't know, is the cinematography warm, oversaturated? I don't know. It comes out June 16th. G Hint says Grand Budapest and Fantastic Mr. Fox are my faves. Absolutely. Fantastic Mr. Fox is so good. G Hint says Life Aquatic puts me to sleep. Nelson notes that it's a lot more heartbreaking when cool people suck. We've talked about this more in the stream. You just can't like famous people, guys. You just can't. You can't think that famous people are good, because being a good actor or a good athlete or a good musician does not require moral or ethical fortitude. It does not require an inclination towards humanism or justice. It requires none of those things. And sometimes we conflate those. Now, sometimes the people make good art that reflects a humanity that then tells us that maybe that person is maybe good. Yes, but not always. So there you go. Let's go to the hole, guys. It's hole time. I'm going to keep asking this. How about one of you, a musician, a digital artist or something, make us a theme song for the Harris Hole. Send it to wisecracklive666@gmail.com. Again, that's wisecracklive666@gmail.com. Make us a theme song for the Harris Hole. I think that'd be really fun, or something like that. I don't know. Consider, oh my God, Rushmore is so good too. But see, I think that, yeah, Wes Anderson is contentious. I like Wes Anderson because I'm an older millennial who likes a twee aesthetic and was sort of, I'm of a generation that values earnestness. And Wes Anderson embodies a type of, Gen X millennial earnestness in his art. And earnestness that maybe doesn't exist anymore, but we watch his movies because there's something there that I like a lot. King Jar Jar, Wisecrack member, thank you so much for joining. Before we get into the hole, a few things. Guys, consider the Patreon. I'm going to tell you why you should consider it. We make extra stuff. You get the videos early with no ads. We're now regularly doing our podcast Behind the Crack. So you're going to get that, I think, twice a month now, once or twice a month. You get office hours videos, which is, if you're a patron, you can ask me anything about philosophy, videos, culture, society. I might not always know the answer, but then I'll just sit there and I'm just going to talk about it. I'm going to try my best to answer it. So we're doing those sort of videos. You also get all of our videos early with no ads. A lot of you hate the ads. A lot of you are like, I don't want to watch Michael tell me about some direct-to-consumer product. I don't want to watch him do it. Well, you don't have to if you go that way. So I'm just telling you to consider checking it out. Have a beer, have a bowl as we dive into the hole. That's great, Nelson. Please pay creatives for their creativity. Yes, we like that very much. Let's get into the hole. Here we go. We're going to learn about maps. It's a map day, guys. It's a fucking map day. If you don't know what's about to happen, get ready for it. Like the stream, consider the Patreon. Thanks for being here. Happy opening day. Go Cubs, go. Behind the Crack is only for Patreon members, yes. King Jar Jar wants to know why some men are scared to wipe their butts. I don't know. I've never been afraid of that.
How did we get this? A map so detailed, so precise, that guys like this would have thought it was magic. An impossibility made manifest by superhumans.
I kind of don't think
one of their fellow
Antarctica's
explorers, Ernest Shackleton, drew this place on the back of a menu once, dreaming of someday crossing this whole continent and paying a huge price to try. This is a place that has lured explorers from all over, killing many of them. That's because the bottom of the Earth is a place that humans really shouldn't go. It's a place that, in fact, they couldn't go.
It's so weird that we have a bottom. But then how do we say that's the bottom of the Earth? This is going to sound like a stoner thought, guys, and I know it's not 420 yet. But like, it's not like the universe has an up and a down, right? I'm really dumb on science, guys. I don't know. It's just like, why did we just decided that's the bottom? I don't know. Guys, like the stream to encourage Cass B to stay here and watch Johnny, even though she hates him. Julia, that was a very Florida thing.
Hey, I'm super excited for you to see the rest of this video. First, I need to say thank you to
2
Storyblocks
videos
for sponsoring
in a
today's
row
video. Actually,
without
monthly
beanies.
subscription.
I'm skipping
As
ahead.
much as you want of my beauty. Let's get back to this video about
He's
Antarctica.
evolving.
Go ahead, John. He is. He's evolving. Wait, is this his way of telling me, like, have some courage as a YouTube host? Don't always wear hats and beanies, man. Be who you are. Fuck. God damn it, John.
Our species were able to move and settle across the whole globe, from desolate ice deserts to impossibly faraway islands.
Australia.
Somehow we just showed up. We settled. But even
And the important thing is when we settled there, we were super cool about it. We went to new countries and we are just like, hey, what's up? Let's be friends. Oh, let's work together. And I think that's really
after
cool.
we had reached every corner of the globe thousands of years ago, there was still one landmass that no human had ever laid their eyes on. But something had to exist down.
Oh, Vox. I didn't know that Larry Wilmore show did that, but I loved Larry Wilmore show. It was really good when that was on TV. And I especially love, there was an episode where I had Mac Miller perform, and the Mac Miller performance was so
Here,
good.
they thought, something to balance out all of the land in the north, with land in the south. So explorers and map makers continued to search. And on these maps, they drew their imaginary ideas. A giant continent somewhere down here. Or maybe this island out in the east really extended down, like way down. Maybe there was palm trees and abundance, a new world yet to be discovered.
Outright tiny, almost as cleansing as the waters of Lake Minnetonka, but not
Others
quite.
mocked the idea of a southern world. They depicted it as a dystopian land full of kingdoms
Whoa.
rife with immorality.
This is like some
but these were all guesses.
J.R. Tolkien shit.
It all remained unknowable. Too far away to find out. By the end of the 1700s, explorers had turned most of the world's oceans from mysteries to fact. And it was only then that the vast ocean expanses of the South turned from imaginary musings into the next frontier of discovery. The newly enlightened mapmakers were now drawing precise gridded lines.
I think this is just as impressive as the biggest developments in philosophy, science, and art, whatever. The people were able to do this. You know, there's this idea in philosophy sometimes that like there's limits to reason. There's sort of limits to the conceptualization of human thought. And for me, imagining being in a world where we don't have maps and globes and coming up with that is beyond what I can conceptualize. But again, I'm kind of stupid. So there you go. Thanks for being here. Like the stream if you think I'm an idiot.
To accurately audit the planet. They were done with their pretend predictions.
They better know,
their
Vox.
monsters in place of knowledge. The map would remain empty until they had evidence to fill in those great blank spaces.
Vox, you're surprised that I know that one must cleanse themselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. I'm not 9 years old.
Hopefully with Earth's lost and last continent, for thousands of years conjectured by many, but seen by none. So expeditions were launched moving south, and they failed. The southern seas were simply too vast, the gaps in our knowledge too big to take on
So
this
many people
uncharted
died
place.
just trying to like
But in
see
1772, one captain
there.
would begin to change everything.
James, I bet he was a good guy. I'm going to call it James Cook, good guy.
He set sail with 2 ships and 192 men. And with him, the latest technology, a new clock, the most precise clock ever made at the time, and would for the first time allow him to determine his longitude, to map his every move.
You ever think about if you went in a time machine back to 1772? That like, never mind. I almost said something dumb because I was going to say that your phone would make you the smartest person there. But then there wouldn't be a network or the internet or anything, so you'd still be an idiot. Never mind.
Give us the lines that we can now show you on this map. This journey was funded by the all-consuming greed of an expanding empire looking for new soil to
all-consuming greed of an expanding empire, base
exploit.
terrorist.
But him personally, he had big things going on in his mind. He was in it for the desire to go south, further south than any man had ever gone, and as far south as any man could possibly go.
Wow. So he's like the opposite of DJ Khaled, if you know what I mean. Shout it out in the comments if you got that reference.
He wanted to be the one to find the lost continent at the bottom of our planet. So for 3 years, he scoured the oceans. Yet, searching in the temperate latitudes, all he found was water. So he decided to cross a line that no one before him had crossed, the Antarctic Circle. In case it's not clear, we're now looking at the bottom of the world. And this map is actually a story. It's a story of a doggedly determined explorer spending years of his life circling these oceans, dipping more south than any human had ever traveled, then coming up and then dipping down again, just in case.
Again, an experience that DJ Khaled will never know.
In case this time he might find something. But all he found was frozen water, floating ice, sharp and perilous. But he kept on, looking.
Thank you. Maeve notes the camera on the phone would still be magic until the charge ran out. So showing people like cool videos with fun edits, that would blow their
for ways
minds.
in. On a couple of occasions, he reached within breathing distance of land, but he never caught sight of it. After years of searching, it was finally time to head home. He didn't find the continent. But what he did do was prove that if this fabled land existed, it would not be the bountiful paradise that people had imagined and hoped for.
No,
he had
it would
scoured
not.
nearly every inch of those latitudes. Instead, he knew that any land down here would be a desolate world, quote, forever buried in snow and ice. So more explorers go and attempt to do what Captain Cook couldn't. And 45 years later, they find something. It was the lost continent, and humans were laying eyes on it for the first time.
I would just be way too lazy for that. Like, why would I spend all my time exploring someplace that probably sucks? I would just try to go someplace
No,
good
it was
and hang
not
out.
temperate, but barren and merciless. But it was seen. It existed. For human beings, a moment like this doesn't mean the end of a goal. It actually just means the very beginning.
Martin keeps asking about alpha male degradation fetish. I think we talked about that at the beginning of the stream in response to a question. So rewind when it's over. And remember, VODs of all Wisecrack lives. You can leave comments, ask questions, show them to your friends. Maybe watch. You know what I want someone to do? Watch Wisecrack live with your parents sometime when you're home, and let us know how it goes.
So they don't stop here. Soon more ships are heading south. Explorers looking to claim land for their country. Seal hunters, whale hunters looking for new untouched waters. Scientists on boats with measuring tools and open minds, recording everything. The unknown
Stylistically very different from most Harris videos as well.
place a little more known, sketched on paper, the shape of a landmass. But these records only served as a new measurement of our ignorance, how much we didn't know. Our discoveries were still
Ryan
scattered
dropping
and
dark
partial,
penguin
a crude
facts.
shape, a ghost of something much bigger. To
Gregoria
truly
making a good
unveil
point.
Antarctica's mysteries, we needed to venture inside it. A few years would need to.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I have Dead Parent 2, Dead Parent Gang, Bang Bang. You watch it with someone else then. Maybe your doctor, physician, lawyer, therapist. Let's all watch Wisecrack live with our
pass
therapist.
before the people with power would turn their attention slightly away from mapping and conquering the non-icy world to supporting the full exploration of this desolate place. But eventually they got on board. They needed to know what existed in the last blank land on the map.
Well, if your mom doesn't understand English, you could just lie to her. She's like, what did he just say? Just make up something really insane.
By then, they had unleashed the magic of mechanical
Heck
power.
yeah, son.
Power that was fed by carbon from ancient trees, turned into black gold, locked deep in the earth. This new power allowed them to navigate the once impossible ice, unlocking the perilous interior. On board these boats were scientists, explorers, ready to ask and answer new questions. Armed.
Whoa. Talk about a Harris hole. Look at that one. That's a icy Harris hole. It's shaped just like how you would imagine a massive icy Harris hole would be. Wow. Interesting video, guys. We've really seen a lot. Also, shout out to everyone who has lost a parent. It sucks. It's weird. But then you get to be in the club and we all know it. One of my, a lot of my good friends and my partner, a lot of people I know have dead parents, and it's like a weird thing we bond over. And I feel bad sometimes when I have friends who are my age who have both their parents. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, you're not ready for what's coming. But it's sad, but it's also circle of life type stuff.
With new methods, new tools, progress, discovery, adventure, and of course, the French being French. Soon it's 1911.
Shout out to the French drinking wine on a little table in Antarctica.
And there's a race to see who can get to the South Pole first. And it's the Norwegian group who does. The British team gets there
Shocking.
second, and everyone dies on their way back. And the map is shaping up. New goals come to
Everyone
replace old
dies
ones.
on their way
we now
back?
need to cross.
You gave your whole... I don't get it. It's cool that they did that, but I just don't get it.
Through the pole, going through the ominous unexplored region on the map. A guy named Shackleton tried this, but didn't make it very far. But his journey became a tale of courage and the will to live.
I read the book about this, Shackleton's journey. I think it's called Endurance.
When he and his crew, against all odds, in some of the most hostile circumstances, managed to all return home. The expeditions of that period reset the standards of human limits. And bit by bit, line by line, the void on the map was gradually getting filled in. By 1920, you're seeing maps like this, a red shading on the parts that we know, and yet still so much left unknown. After millennia of dreaming of it, we finally and indisputably conquered the skies. We were now able to lay our eyes on uncharted territories at an unprecedented scale. The first airplane flew over the South Pole in 1928, and in the next decade,
the Wright brothers, or as I call them, the Property Brothers.
Next decade, many more would follow, each flight providing more detail to add to the compendium of hard-fought observations. But as much as it is a part of our nature to explore and learn,
Nate Lynch says the British team refused to properly prep.
It is also a part of our nature to conquer and dominate. In the aftermath of the most catastrophic war humanity had ever known, humans once again revealed their little eternal paradox, that their love for exploration was often as much about conquest and control as it was about learning.
Wow. Johnny's really going for it. Listen to that
understanding. Petty fights about who owned this land came to the surface. And thus, on the maps, more and more we see these shades of colors, unnaturally straight lines that indicate who owns what. Scientific research.
Like, why do you want to own a bunch of ice? Yeah, there's like cooler stuff. Even if you're going to be a shitty colonist, like, own something better.
Stations dot the icy.
Julia's ex-girlfriend from Florida believes there are pyramids in Antarctica. It adds up. It adds up. And again, hello to the person Julia went on a date with yesterday. If for some reason you're watching this, you know, if you go out again, make sure it's a fun time. Treat her well, okay? Because if not, we're her family. And we'll get you.
Surface flying.
We'll kill you with kindness, and if you don't know what that means, rewind about an hour. That was the threat.
Established as much for asserting territorial control as for science, and now it's a new world where the two super.
Casby, our good Rousseauian, tells us that it's not part of our nature to conquer and dominate. That's a choice. Okay, so shut up, Hobbes and Locke.
Superpowers had turned the map into their chessboard for influence. Both were now looking for a share of what was still Earth's largest unexplored territory. And soon the United States is making maps like this, that has a whole shade color dedicated to land that has been seen exclusively by American eyes. It's a map that says we were here first, creating a paper trail that they could point to just in case they needed to stake a claim here at the bottom of the planet. But then the countries get together and they make an agreement that Antarctica was not meant to be just a new field for our conflicts, but rather a place for scientific inquiry. So scientists keep coming, enabled by better technology. Icebreakers and helicopters are unloaded onto the continent. But despite all the progress,
there was an Anthony Bourdain episode where they went to Antarctica. It seemed like a rough spot.
This continent remains unknown and potentially unknowable. That's until humans break a seemingly impossible barrier by escaping the force of gravity that kept us bound
satellites.
To our home
this is the key.
planet.
Just
We're now
wait for the
throwing out
satellites.
spherical machines with cameras on them into space. Countries use these satellites to snap photos.
Style and Tile in 77. Peace to you as well.
Of their enemies on giant rolls of film in gold canisters.
Lithographer says, what time is it at the pole? Okay, welcome. We're going to do a segment now called Michael Doesn't Understand Science Corner. In my mind, if I'm standing at the pole, right, doesn't every time zone emerge from this? So aren't I in all times and no time all at once? If I'm right on the pole, right, because the lines go... This has been another instance of Michael's bad at science corner.
That would fill up and then be ejected back down into the sky, intercepted by an airplane. And now, yes, we have photos of what our enemy is up to. But look, we also just have photos of the Earth, seeing it like never before. these terrestrial outlines that old cartographers would tediously reconstruct with.
Imagine if your job was cartographer and you're just like at a bar and someone's like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "I'm a cartographer." That'd be the coolest shit you could
Only
ever
the
say.
help of scattered observations, math, and plenty of imagination, now readily available to us with perfect accuracy. Our maps were no longer educated guesses. They were snapshots of reality, thanks to our satellites hurling around our planet once every 100 or so minutes, taking photos and making measurements while they fly. Humans have outdone themselves now. We have more data than our human brains could possibly comprehend.
And then everything became good. Because as humans zoomed out and understood the Earth for what it really was, it gave us a sense that we were all an interconnected species, sharing one planet and its natural resources together. Never again would we fight or squabble over national borders, religious beliefs, ethnicities, or the desire to conquer. Instead, humans worked together to make one big spaceship Earth into the sort of place everyone would want to live on, where togetherness, justice, and equality were prioritized over all else. Nah, just kidding. We kept killing each other and
It's too
buying
much.
shit.
It's basically worthless due to its scale, its detail, its complexity, until new electronic brains appear, allowing us to collect and synthesize hundreds of thousands of
Johnny's
images
just
from
doing a
space,
history of
blending them
Earth
into
in
one
this video.
map. A map that explorers who broke into this desolate place 100 years earlier could have never imagined. Every nook and cranny of Antarctica is seen. Every hill, every curve, every valley, every cliff, every ledge.
DJ Khaled is watching this, just realizing that he's really messed up for all these years.
But we don't stop there. Now let's measure the radiation emitted from the icy surface. We can measure the chemistry of the atmosphere down here, the temperature of its oceans, the velocity of its ice sheets as they move. We can somehow even map what this place would look like if you removed all the ice. Ice that, let me remind you, is 4 kilometers thick in some places. Scientists soon declare that Antarctica, the place that was always inaccessible to humans, is now the best mapped continent on Earth. This generations-long quest to map Antarctica is ultimately...
Cast is not like his little whisper voice. If anyone meets Johnny, says this time, we gotta tell him he's a cartographer. Letter W says, this is millennial Adam Curtis. We should find, okay, maybe someone find some good Adam Curtis videos and send them to us at wisecracklive666@gmail.com. Again, you are a part of this. So find stuff that you want to watch and talk about during the week, articles, movies, whatever. Send them to wisecracklive666@gmail.com.
struggle and then triumph. A story
Also
of
send us
exploration and
a Harris Hole
science.
theme song.
And to me, it's rock solid proof of something that seems to be deeply embedded into the human experience. The obsession to discover, regardless of the cost and despite the lack of any rational reason to do so. Always driven by these twin motives of curiosity and conquest.
Yeah, his
Always
voice
willing
is
to
totally
do whatever
different.
it takes to step foot in a place.
And you know, it's interesting that we just haven't seen him. It's
No
just
matter
an
how
all map
impossible it
video.
seems. So yes,
I've not seen Trauma
entirely
Zone
mapped
yet.
Antarctica
I forgot
and
the
the
link
entire
I had
planet
to
at
it.
that. But you know we're not going to stop here. As new frontiers reveal their mysteries to us, the
Yeah, we'll
same
fuck up
story
space,
is
too.
bound to unfold. And I can say with certainty that we will continue to do this, not because we need to for survival,
Thank you,
but because
Elon.
we need to for some other reason.
Thank
some
you,
deeply
Jeff
human
Bezos.
impulse that pushes us way past what's reasonable into the impossible.
Motherfucking humans will figure out like all the new ways to make self-landing rockets, but we won't be like, oh, maybe like kids should get food at school.
To expand the frontiers of our knowledge, to understand ourselves and our surroundings a little better, to discover the truths of our world.
Of course, Julia was a
and our
cartographer.
universe.
Julia's like smart Forrest Gump.
Hey everyone,
She's
thanks
done it
for
all.
watching. This was a new format, obviously.
Wait, so here's another thing. Johnny dropping a new format this week. Wisecrack dropping a new
One I'm
format.
really excited about though, because
Look at us,
we
Johnny.
poured a lot into.
Look at us. Look at us. So that was a fun Harris hole. I mean, it was different. It was different. And I appreciate that it was different. Kids can't land a rocket. No, they cannot. Well, there you go. So, guys, thank you for being here. Please like the stream if you haven't already. Let's see. If I have a channel saved as in 8 parts, I don't want to post the link unless it's cool. It's cool to post links, I think, especially if they're for Adam Curtis things. But yeah, again, Wisecrack Live 666@gmail.com. Hey guys, news. I'm not exactly sure what's happening for stream next week. I'm going to be in Chicago for half of next week. If you're in Chicago, try to find me and kill me. I don't know. Don't kill me in Chicago, please. Please don't kill me in Wichita. But we're going to do something stream-wise next week. I'm not sure. It might be at a different time. But then the week after that, we're going to have some new gear. We'll have a new setup. It's going to be pretty sick. As we continue to grow, expand, hit us up. Let us know what you want to see. As always, if you want to be more ingrained in the fabric of Wisecrack, consider joining our Patreon. You get on our Discord server where I'm increasingly becoming a cop in the chat when people are mean to each other. But you also get a bunch of free content. So yeah, we'll wrap it up here. But thank you so much. See you guys soon. Thanks you to everyone in the chat. Thanks to all the lords of the chat. Really appreciate you. Really love you. Daddy Michael and Uncle Henry, like y'all a lot. Letter W, if you got places you want me to eat, wisecracklive666@gmail.com. And Justin, if you find me with a beer, I'll be stoked. I will not have some Malort. I do not like Malort. Okay, cool. Live from Chicago. It's Wisecrack Night Live. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks to producer Henry. And we're done.
Thanks, y'all. See you next week.